Do you want to start? All right, Saad, let's start with you. Who is winning the AI race?
You want me to answer?
Yes.
Okay. So, in my view, there is no single country or company that's winning that race, but the race is on. And the reason I said my statement to start with is that the winner eventually will be the one that has the most impact of AI benefits to the world and enterprises in particular. So we work with a lot of companies today. We actually do, we just announced that we did $9.5 billion book of business in AI with enterprises. And clearly the benefit of AI is all about productivity, efficiency, cost improvement, the various things we'll talk about in this discussion.
Should I say who's leading the AI race right now? Because I can see you giving me a very diplomatic answer.
No, there's no, I mean, in terms of companies, of course, I'll tell you, IBM is a leader, and we are leading in many areas. In particular, the impact it would make to clients and businesses, because consumer AI is fantastic. My kids use it. But then actually the enterprise AI piece of this is what's going to really make a differentiator to the world. And I think the emerging winners, it will not be one winner, will be the ones who have the best technology, coupled with the right usage of that technology, especially around data, but also with the right talent and skilling that either that company has, or that vendor has, or that country has. And we've seen that skilling area very, very aggressively chased here in countries like UAE and Saudi.
Okay, Antonaldo. Who's winning the race? Who's leading the race?
Thanks for having us here. I am going to give even a more diplomatic answer. I think is humanity, to be honest. I think what we are observing in technology is something that is extraordinary for people. I mean, I don't know anyone that is not better off today because they have access to technology and they have access to now AI, right? But if you asked the same questions about 40 years ago when we had the first PC coming to the market, right? You probably had a list of companies, and the companies that are dominating the PC market today are totally different, right? The same goes for the phones, right? I mean, I was with the Nokia guys last week, and they were saying that they were number one in my country 25, 30 years ago, right, in mobile phones. So I think in the end, the benefits coming to everyone, to every consumer, every individual. I mean, not only kids are using it, right, but everyone is using some sort of AI piece today. And I think we, as human beings, we're benefiting from that. I think it's here to stay, right? It's just like I tell our people in Etihad, I mean, embrace it, because it's just like 15, 20 years ago when you had email in your phone, and people are saying, look, I don't want that because I don't want to work on Saturday and Sundays, right? I don't want to take work home. And today, nobody can live without a mobile phone, right? So I think in the end, I mean, you have multiple companies today deploying a lot of capital, a lot of intelligence behind it. You have corporations adopting it. I think it's very early. And I don't think it's going to be like the winner is going to take it all. I think it's going to be a situation in which multiple companies are going to be supporting the entire technology ecosystem, and some players are going to come, some players are going to go, and in the end, I think we as human beings we're benefiting a lot from that already today.
Okay, brilliant. Are you going to give me a more straightforward answer?
Listen,
let me be a little bit more clear. Is it the US? Is it China? Would you put it down to a specific company in terms of adoption?
Look, I think it's a really important question. I think my colleagues answered it well, albeit diplomatically.
Yes.
I'll be a little less diplomatic. I think it's a very poignant and important question, and for me, very definitively, the United States is winning in artificial intelligence.
Okay.
I think there is a question as to will the United States win this race or this war on AI, and what that will look like as it plays out over the next 12 months and multiple years. But definitively today, the United States is winning in the race for artificial intelligence.
Okay, I'd like to get the audience involved, and don't worry, it's super dark, I can't see you, so it's almost like it's anonymous. I'm going to ask you whether you believe it's the US or China. I'm going to start with the United States. Do you believe that the US is winning the AI race? Hands up. All right. Do you believe that China is winning the AI race? Hands up. Okay, so I think mostly the US. Interesting. And the reason that this is important because we're seeing a race for, chips that are very advanced. We know that there's a trade war that's playing out with this, and then obviously that's going to impact adoption of sorts. So, Sada, I want to go to you, and I know that you really have been not only focusing on R&D, but also in retrofitting legacy structures and systems within IBM. And I want to get a sense from you as a tech company that's fully integrated in this, how much AI you've been able to use and then on-sell that to customers?
So the answer is quite a significant amount, especially in the last few years. We have a term internally called Client Zero. Client Zero meaning IBM. How much AI do we infuse in our systems for the benefit of our employees? And we have some wonderful examples yielding savings of about $4.5 billion. But more importantly is what it does to employees like myself. I'll give you an example. We have a system called Ask HR. Today, if I needed anything related to my employment, for example, I'm doing a mortgage and I needed a February 2022 pay statement, I go and type at Ask HR my need. Within seconds, I'll get the statement generated, stamped by the IBM stamp for me to use. Years ago, and I'm going back maybe 5, 8 years, it would have been you call an agent, and then you dial 1 for English, 2 for Spanish, and then you dial 2, 3, until you get to the right agent, and you wait. Then that agent will tell you, I'm going to mail you one in the post. It will come to you in about a week. Imagine that, shrinking that time. And the same thing now is applicable for Ask IT.
Yeah.
So we actually have most of our IT issues, in fact, 90% of them now are totally handled by the system, a very intelligent system. And password reset is the easiest one, but there are a lot more complex one, especially related to security. And then you've got the other business processes around supply chain and customer service. Now, you take that Client Zero. The reason I started with that is that that's a foundation for all of us to know how to use AI with the technology available to it. And then we talk to our clients about that example, and then you start to help clients do the same thing. The challenge in making it happen is actually not the availability of the technology, the infrastructure, or the software. The challenge is always the business process, because the example I described for Ask HR will mean there's a workflow alignment between the recruitment systems, the payroll systems, the other HR systems, and then the data has to flow between them. And as you do it, also you have to do it in a very trusted manner. So it's a challenge that's not easy, because we are starting with a base that has absolute trillions of data structures in place, and a lot of dollars spent over the many, many years. And we are embedding AI on top of it, and at the same time we're transforming new processes with AI-first mentality.
But AI can only really work if you've got the data to back it up, basically.
Absolutely. The data is the foundation.
Yeah.
There is a term in the IT industry, which is the data lake house. That's where you take a lot of unstructured data and you put it in a structure that works with AI. And here's a fact that's actually is an MIT study fact, and that is only 1% of the enterprise data has been leveraged by AI at this point.
Yeah.
So the actual value is in the other 99%. Now that will come. That will come. And again, back to the question on leadership, the enterprises that leverage that data for the benefits of themselves or their clients will be the leaders in the future, because you could serve your client better if you're a bank and you know your client really well. And also you could take cost out from your enterprise if you know how to manage the workflow of, for example, an insurance policy issuance. Instead of you and I having to wait a week or two, why wouldn't it be done in 5 minutes? The future will take us there. But right now, the data is not structured in a way that enables that.
But it's going to happen in our lifetime, which is exciting. Okay, Antonello, I want you to jump in here and tell me about Etihad Airways, because it's really fascinating. You've got multiple facets here. You're thinking about the customer experience. You want to make my life seamless. that I'm going to come and pick Etihad, for example. And then the other part of this is fuel optimization. It is about, your internal processes and so forth. How are you guys utilizing AI right now effectively on a day-to-day basis?
So it's starting, right? If you go back in time, right, our industry, we have to price each and every origin and destination. So a revenue management system is I would say, very capable, right? And we actually change our prices 3 to 4 times per day. And we have millions of O&Ds, right? Actually, we have billions of fares every single day that are changed, right? And it's impossible for a human being to manage that. So talking on the commercial side, we've been using automation, right, for some time. Is I would say the foundation for AI is automation, right? But as we make progress, right, over the past 2 to 3 years, we started to use I would say LLM models to support our customer service, for instance. So today in our contact center, although we don't have a full agent working today, right, to respond to our customers, we're using agents as a support to our people who are handling calls and complaints and questions from the customers. So if you actually send today an email to Etihad asking a refund or asking some compensation, right, for a flight that was canceled or was delayed, the first thing that reads the email is AI. So all emails are read by an LLM model. And the LLM model is actually trying to understand if that customer is entitled or not for compensation. And instead of returning to the customer the answer immediately, it provides a human being with information to talk to the customer. We do believe that that's an important step that we're taking. We understand that in the future, some people are not even willing to talk to our agent, right? But so that we can train the model in a way that the model is capable, right, to be accurate, right? We're doing a two-step approach. Another area that we're doing, we're investing a lot in AI is on recruitment, right? We're growing a lot. We were doing about 10 million passengers in 2022. This year, only 3 years afterwards, we're going to be doing 22 million passengers. So we more than double in less than 20 years. We're going to double again, and at the same time expanding margins, right? So efficiency is the name of the game. And recruitment is an important process for us. We hire 2,500 people per year. And we actually receive more than 100,000 CVs per year for flight attendants. Everyone want to come to Etihad, right? It's the number one most desirable job if you want to be a crew member, right? So 100,000 CVs per year. And in addition to the CV, we ask a video, right? So that we see your skills, right? And before, we had a person watching all the videos, right?
And do you really think they watched 100,000 videos?
And now we have AI watching, right? Now we have AI watching the video. And AI is being really accurate in pre-selecting people, right? Oh, really? So AI is watching the videos, right? And he's saying, look, this person has this and that person has this and that. And it's really, really interesting to see.
You should input your CV and see if you get chosen, just as a test.
What I was telling the team is be careful, right? People are going to be sending videos that are fake, right? AI to read the fake video, right?
So I've got a question because, listen, I come across these bots all the time. Customer service is being transformed by AI bots or whatever you want to, these humanoids. And I get frustrated. I want to speak to a human. And I want to, maybe I'm too old. Do you guys get frustrated when you speak to AI? Yes? Do you want humans? Yes.
That's what we have in Etihad.
I know. And then you're like, but you said something interesting. You said, if they qualify to speak to a human. And that's pretty scary. I mean, a robot is deciding if I have the right to speak to a human. I mean, I wonder how it's going to transform this. You're staying quiet. Okay, so Alex, I want you to jump in here because I want you to tell me a little bit about Metropolis because you're an AI company for the real world, and I want you to, I don't want to give it away, but tell me exactly what you guys are up to and how you've been able to fully integrate, starting from scratch, where you don't have to retrofit AI in legacy systems where you're purely AI.
Happy to answer that question. I think before I answer the question, let me just step back and answer the previous prompt tied to the example surrounding customer service and this idea of whether you want to interact with an AI bot or you want to interact with a human. I think that's how we generalize and think about artificial intelligence. We think about this idea of automation, streamlining, simplifying process. That's a gross misunderstanding and calculation of the impact of artificial intelligence. This is not about automation. This is not about simplification. This is about the complete elimination. The future that we're going to all see in front of us, driven by artificial intelligence, is precognitive. It's not the idea of getting rid of the call rep. It's not the idea of getting rid of the agent. It's that you don't need the agent to begin with because the artificial intelligence is predicting and responsive to your needs in real time. And it's actually hard for us to conceptualize that, but it's a critical distinction. This is not about the simplification of workflows. It's the elimination of entire workflows. So as it pertains to Metropolis, look at this room as an example. I was thinking as my co-panelists have been speaking, if you look around, about 50% of the population of this room is sitting down looking at their phone right now. We live our lives...
You're banned from doing that if you want to look up.
We live our lives through our phones. We think about artificial intelligence in the context of LLMs, in the context of chatbots. What we don't think about is artificial intelligence in the real world and how artificial intelligence is going to change our day-to-day lives. Metropolis is one of the fastest growing applied artificial intelligence companies in the real world. How do we leverage computer vision technology and artificial intelligence to drive seamless experiences everywhere? Whether that's checking into a hotel, driving into a parking facility, seamless identity and belonging and recognition everywhere you go. So at this point, we're onboarding somewhere between 1 and 2 people every 1 to 2 seconds in the United States, about 1 million new members every single month. About 21 million Americans have signed up with Metropolis to create these seamless checkout-free commerce experiences everywhere you go.
Okay, so when you say the seamless checkouts, explain exactly how it would pertain to me. I've gone to a store, I've purchased something. How's my life easier and frictionless?
Well, think about the experience.
I'm fumbling over my words, but I'm just trying to understand.
Think about the experience of just checking into Milken today.
Yeah.
We all waited in a line to get our badges. Why did you have to do that? Your identity is here. You belong to be here. You've presented your credentials. You can have an app. Computer vision can recognize you. You can get a text message when you can arrive. You can automatically be credentialized. When you go to a hotel, why aren't you just greeted by name? When you pull into a toll booth, when you pull into a parking facility, when you go into a doctor's office. Think about how many times we have to represent ourselves, represent our identity. How many times we have to check into a Class A office building. Have you been through Dubai or Abu Dhabi? Every single building is the same.
Yeah.
Why is that the case?
It basically says, okay, well, now I'm giving up all my details. You know exactly where I am. You know, so I mean, it's give and take, basically.
Listen, there has to be a fair exchange of value.
Yeah.
But listen, when we talk about airports, we're very confident and very secure in giving up our privacy because there's a fair exchange of value. We want to be safe in an airport and in our flight experiences.
So, I want to talk about that because what we've seen is, and just for context, you know, I moved here from South Africa, and Johannesburg Airport was not as advanced as, you know, the experience I've had in Abu Dhabi and also Dubai, and it was amazing. I mean, first I'd have to scan my passport, and it was like, I mean, I thought I was just living in the future. Now you walk through a corridor, and this is specifically in Dubai airports, and these cameras are capturing me, and they know exactly who I am. I don't even have to show my passport. And I wonder how much AI is used in those models, and how do you see that changing the customer experience? How are you thinking about it as Etihad?
Yeah, I think it's been around for a while, right? I mean, I moved from the US to Abu Dhabi in 2022, and when I was in the recently inaugurated Orlando terminal in Florida, I mean, I had to show my passport to TSA, right? But when I boarded, it was actually an Emirates flight, no passport, no nothing, just facial recognition, right? In Orlando in 2022, right?
But you're like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah, not really, to be honest. I mean, I think facial recognition has been around for a while. It's a simple transaction in my point of view. But we still have problems, right? I just came back from Brazil and they could not recognize my face in Brazil, right? Europe is going through a major process to revamp the entire system. It's a bit messy. It's actually getting better now. But if you go in Abu Dhabi here today, I don't use my passport in Abu Dhabi anymore. I just arrived I just went to Brazil through Abu Dhabi, right? With a one-stop because we don't have flights for Brazil yet. And I don't have to use my passport in Abu Dhabi as well. So I think I think it's airports are not that complex, to be honest. I think it's a fairly simple business. I think solutions are available. I think in that case, what we need is more attention to details and processes so that the airports can improve the customer experience, right? I think AI can help, but it's not make or break. Where I see AI in airlines helping a lot is actually on the customer side, not only on the customer service, as we described, but there is a very important portion of the airline business cycle, which is understanding the customer and providing the customer what he or she deserves or need. And if you think about it, right, we sell 22 million tickets per year, right? But our look to book is only 7%. It's only 7%. Only 7% of the people that go to our website, and that's not only Etihad, it's all the airlines in the world, right? 93% of people don't buy, right? So if you go to the top of the funnel, right, that's where AI can help me. If I can double that, I mean, I double my demand, right? So I think the value creation that AI is going to help is much more on what we call the top of the funnel, right? Than on the check-in. I think the check-in is a fairly simple process, right? I mean, the industry has been... I mean, Lufthansa is measuring today in Frankfurt all the bags at the gate. And when the bags cannot be loaded anymore, the gate agent understands because in the bins, right? And the gate agent talks to the customers. And that's there. It's already working, you see what I mean? And so I think it's more about deploying technology that is available rather than anything else in operations, yeah. Right? But in the commercial area, I think there is a huge runaway ahead of us.
Okay, Saad, I want to talk about the issues that we're facing, the risks. I want to talk about chips. I want to talk about what we're seeing on the trade war fronts, how that's affecting IBM. You're a US-based company, you're embarking on a lot of research and development, and you obviously want to be at the forefront, and you want clients to pick IBM and not some other supplier. And frankly, there's also a big conversation about countries picking which tech block they're going to be joining. Is it more China-based? Is it more US-based? Then you break it down into companies. How are you managing those conversations?
Yeah, I'll start by saying competition drives innovation.
Yes.
In technology, throughout its history, the inception of the first computing devices, they called tabulating devices by IBM in the 40s, 50s, and then to the large systems in the 60s, that are now the mainframes out there, powering a lot of the world. It was the innovation driven by great research and engineering, and it was US-based, but we're a global company. So, for example, we have research labs around the globe. It's a fabric, and because you want to leverage the best talent for what you need to get done. And competitions came. So, for example, my colleague here said the PC. Yes, IBM invented the PC in 1981. Competition came within 2 or 3, 4 years. It drove better products from us and our competition, better price points for our clients, better productivity and benefits. On the topic of chips specifically, we at IBM have been in the chip industry for a while, and the US Chip Act, that's been now there for about 3 years, provided about $50 billion of research funding for companies like IBM in the US. I believe that will drive benefits and yield, coupled with our investments. So, as an example, for me, the most wonderful example of a chip innovation is our latest quantum 156 qubit chip that was announced only 2 weeks ago. You could Google it. That is the new technology that will power future computing in a different way.
So tell me how it differs from the chips that we see right now that are very advanced, this quantum chip.
Yeah, quantum chips is not based on classical computing, it's based on quantum physics. So said simply, since the invention of the transistor in the 40s, the world has been running on, so whether it's your mobile phone or the biggest computer in the world, running on states of 1 and 0. It's on, off. Software manages billions of these things and manages very effectively. Qubits runs on quantum physics, where it's an infinite state between 1 and 0. So the ability to solve problems that classical cannot solve like protein mapping or genetic mapping for humans, or beyond that, things like addressing rust. Why does rust happen? That will all come. We're the leaders in that space, but real commercial use will be in 3 to 4 years when error-free type machines will be in place, and that will have a significant impact to humanity, I believe, in a positive way. Back to your point on innovation research, that is not a journey that happened overnight. This has been about 10 years of innovation in this field to make it happen.
You've been working on these quantum chips for over 10 years.
Yeah. Same thing, by the way, with AI. AI is not an overnight.
100%.
Generative has been there for 3 years, but machine learning language models have been there for 20, 30 years.
So there's two underlying things with what we see in AI, because it's great we're talking about adoption specifically for Etihad and Metropolis in particular, and for IBM and how you're helping clients. But the underlying issues are, firstly, availability of chips, the critical minerals that go into chips, the free movement of these chips. I mean, there's so many underlying issues. And of course, the data centers and the electricity consumption of these data centers. So all of these things need to be solved in order for companies to really stay ahead. I really want to tackle these. So, Saad, I want you to tell me about how you're weighing all these risks and opportunities up. Because I don't even want to know how many critical minerals are going to these quantum chips and just what the back-end requirement is. Could you give me an understanding?
I think it's going to be an ecosystem, and it is an ecosystem across everything you described. So the chips are important for large language models. We know that. But there's another element that's called inferencing, which is how you take large language models that are now pretty much open source, and they vary in size. Our philosophy has been around specialized large language models that require less GPU chips for inferencing, and also by default less power, but also you could do it at a lot less cost at even an on-prem data center in UAE or through partners like AWS. But the whole premise of you absolutely need the 100,000, 200,000 for everybody, that's not the case, because the language models are getting a lot more sophisticated and a lot more specialized. I always give the example of you don't need, for AI, for businesses, you don't need to have a machine that you ask it the question of, give me the Eiffel Tower with 3 monkeys sitting on top and then translate the text for me to another language. What you need is, if you're an insurance company, you need a specialized insurance claim adjustment type model that tends to be a lot smaller, a lot more productive to use the technology.
Alex, I want you to jump in here.
Listen,
Innovation within the space.
I think the challenge, the risk, and the opportunity is relatively straightforward. The challenge is energy. It's a definitive problem.
Yeah.
The risk is human capital and the repurposing of human capital. We talk about retraining of human capital, but this is an industrial revolution unlike we've ever seen before. This is not going to be the repurposing of unskilled labor. This is going to be the repurposing of skilled labor. We've never seen that in any industrial revolution in history. And then
Feeling optimistic that we won't see mass job losses?
I'm actually not that optimistic.
So you feel
I'm skeptical. I'm concerned. I think as you think about the retraining of workforce, as you talk about lawyers, creatives, artists, designers, accountants, take a 25-year veteran in accounting, and you tell them they no longer have a job. You take a 25-year trader, tell them they now have a trading job. No, I think it's a big problem. And I don't think we're talking about it as an economy, as a society. I think it's something we're sweeping under the rug as something that's going to be retrained. But I think there's a reason people are talking about universal basic incomes. I think it's a problem, and I think we need to address it straight on.
Yeah. Antonaldo, I want you to jump in here. Are we going to see job losses at Etihad?
I don't think
AI?
so. We're hiring.
Adoption?
We're hiring. I mean, if you have
Hiring?
candidates...
You're saying 100,000
I have a different
CVs?
view. I have a different view on labor. That has happened before. I mean, as you remember, when I was 10 years old, right, I was going to my dad's office, and his assistant was typing all the letters for my dad.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Right? And my dad today, he's typing himself, right? So, and I still have an assistant. You see what I mean? I may not have an assistant in 2 years.
Now you can dictate it into a
30 years, but
types
she's
it
doing
up.
something different today.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? My assistant is not typing, right? She's not typing letters for me, right? So I think it's all about reskilling, and people are going to be, when I see, I have a 20-year-old, right? He's in business school. When I see the way he's work in his papers, I mean, it's amazing. I think that's extraordinary. I think this generation that is coming is going to come AI ready. I think the real point here is if you are in the middle of your career, how you step up the game. Because I think people are going to be instrumental in the future. I'm really bullish about how AI is going to empower people to do more. I still remember, I was a McKinsey partner, right? And we had to do these PowerPoint presentations, and we had a visual aid department, right? And I joined McKinsey in 1999, right? And I was drawing all these slides, right? And putting on a fax machine, right? And the slides were sent to India, right? For someone to do the visual aid, right? And it's funny, 5 years afterwards, the visual aid was killed. And the consultants were doing the PowerPoint themselves.
Yeah.
Right? So, but everyone in India has a job today. You see what I mean?
It's true.
You see what I mean? So I think people are going to be real skilled. I acknowledge the concerns on reskilling. I think people really need to be, but it's the nature, right? I mean, of the world and evolution. You have these amazing towns in the US that were based on cars, and they don't manufacture cars anymore, and they need to reinvent themselves. Yeah. That's going to happen everywhere. I think the challenge is the pace, right? The pace is totally different, so people have less time, and then people may lose their jobs, right? Because they did not step up and adapt. But I mean, at the same time, you have a lot of technology to help you adapting, right? It's not that I'm asking our people to use a co-pilot, right, without even understanding how to use a computer. And I think the key question for me is not about losing a job, but it's also is more about who is the type of people that you want to hire. And I think today is much more important to know how to ask questions than to bring answers. And that's, for me, the key change that we're going to see in the labor force. I don't want people that know all the answers. Yeah. I really want people that know how to ask the right questions. Because by asking questions, right, in the past, information was power, right? Today, in my view, information is useless. Insight is important, right? And you can only have insight if you know how to make questions, right? And everyone has information, everyone has data, right?
Yeah, it's about how you apply your mind.
It's over there, right? I mean, if you hide the ball because you have data and you think this is power, I mean, I'm sorry.
All right,
in the 50s.
I want to quickly touch on regulation, and Sada, I want you to jump in here because the EU has the AI Act, you've got some regulation in the US, China's taking a different approach, and there's regulation that helps create more innovation, is opening up the markets, and then there's regulation that kind of squeezes you, but also there are major risks with AI. And everyone's wondering where it's all going to land because it's moving super fast.
For enterprise AI, and all the examples my colleagues gave here, and the examples I gave, there's an absolute foundational layer that we call governance. In fact, our AI platform, watsonx, the foundation to it is watsonx.governance. It's a platform that allows you to build your AI applications on top or manage AI in an enterprise. EAT, the largest telco in UAE, is actually a user of this. And I'll tell you, we went on a journey with them in the last couple of years where now they have .governance. And that work started before they started layering the applications, the agents, the use cases that now empower their business. Because they felt it's really important to avoid bias, hallucination, things that could be inaccurate. Because the biggest thing about AI is, do you trust the data that goes in, and do you trust the outputs? And we know the data is all from the same enterprise, but then the model could skew the data in a certain way. And that's before you get to kind of foreign elements where people could have real corruption or cybersecurity issues within AI. So governance is the wrapper, it's the guardrails, we call it. So there's AI without guardrails will be a real problem for any enterprise. Yeah. So very, very important.
So very quickly, the biggest risk that you foresee, Alex, in adoption of AI? Because you're in it, so you know.
Listen, I think it dovetails to my colleague's question and your question regarding regulation and your first question. I think we are definitively in a Cold War, and it's definitively between the US and China. And I think the US needs to win that war.
Antonaldo, biggest risk?
I think it's space. If we're slow, I mean, we're going to be left behind.
Sad?
I think how the data will get used.
All right. And then importantly, Antonio, you said you change your pricing 24 times in one day. What's the best time to book a ticket?
When the flights are empty.
And then what time?
When the flights are empty.
When the flights are empty.
Because we price
That's
to demand.
not helping me. Come on. And is it a Tuesday? Because they say it's the best time is a Tuesday.
The earlier you...
Please, could you create an app to see where, or like some kind of
He has
system
it
where the
already.
best time for me to book?
It's available there.
We're just trying to trick the system, Ronaldo. Like 3 o'clock in the morning, it's not working. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for my fabulous guests. Thank you so much.